Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into episode 4 of our 11-part series exploring Breeze Dong's truly transformative book, A Soulful Transition, Finding Heart-Led Career in the Age of AI. Now, we're going to be breaking down chapter 4 today, and it comes with a rather provocative subtitle, Why You Might Want to Delete Proficient in Excel from Your Soul. So let's unpack exactly why we all need to stop hoarding our skills and start actually designing a heart-led career in this new age of AI. So let's just kick things off with a pretty simple question. What is actually hiding in your professional closet? Think about it for a second. We all have that physical closet at home, right? The one holding that bread maker you used exactly one time during the 2020 sourdough craze, or that tangled mess of cords for electronics you haven't even owned in a decade. Well, what about your mental closet? Why do we treat our resumes like these dusty museums of our past lives, stubbornly holding on to every certification, every committee, every outdated software proficiency? We do it because we're terrified to let go of those old identities. We hoard them just in case the economy crashes and we suddenly need them again.
To unpack all of this, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be exploring the professional junk closet, the disappearing generalist trap, the Spark Joy career audit, the sunset strategy, and finally, a literal resume funeral.
All right, starting with section 1, the professional junk closet. As we just touched on, we really do tend to hoard our past professional selves, and a big reason for that is how we've been conditioned. We've been taught to completely rely on maximum energy. You know the vibe. It's that hustle culture, push through the pain, sleep when you're dead mentality. But the book suggests we desperately need to shift to this beautiful concept from wisdom traditions called wise energy. Wise energy is completely different. It's the gentle discipline of directing your focus only to what nourishes you. It's the art of knowing when to push, sure, but crucially knowing when to stop so you don't end up completely exhausted and just offering this diluted, worn-out version of yourself to the world.
To really adopt that wise energy, we have to look at the idea of essentialism. Greg McKeown absolutely hit the nail on the head with this quote. He says, "You cannot overestimate the unimportance of practically everything." Because honestly, the old logic of accumulation, volunteering for the holiday committee, or keeping some project management certification active even if looking at Gantt charts makes you want to weep, that only works if you're a squirrel getting ready for winter. It is a terrible strategy if you are a human being trying to find specific, irreplaceable value in an AI-driven world.
Which brings us right into section 2, the disappearing generalist trap.
Let's look at how hoarding all those random skills builds into a pretty stark reality for the modern workforce. Here's the harsh truth we are all facing right now. The middle is literally disappearing. Being sort of good at a whole bunch of things, that used to be a fantastic safety net. But today, being a generalist puts you in direct, head-to-head competition with generative AI. Algorithms are already untiring, perfect generalists. They can write average code, draft average emails, and whip up average marketing strategies in seconds for like $20 a month. If your career strategy right now is to just be a generalist, you are competing with an algorithm that never sleeps and never has to leave work early to pick up the kids from soccer practice.
So think about the crucial trade-off we make every single day. On one side, you have your zone of genius. This is where you find your flow, time just evaporates, and you actually finish tasks with way more energy than you started with. On the other side is robot work. This is the heavy, draining stuff, the tasks where you are dreading it, constantly checking the clock, just dragging yourself to the keyboard. Now, whenever you say yes to robot work out of fear of becoming unemployable, you are actively trading away your warm, human zone of genius. And moving forward, that is a massive danger zone because it makes you slow, resentful, and completely replaceable.
So how do we fix this? Let's get into section 3, the Spark Joy career audit. To survive this disappearing middle, we need a method. We are actually going to borrow a concept from Marie Kondo and apply it straight to your LinkedIn profile. Imagine holding every single bullet point on your resume in your hands and asking yourself, does this spark flow? We can categorize your whole professional identity into 3 distinct piles. Pile 1 is your zone of genius, the high empathy, high context work that AI really struggles with. Your action here? Keep it and polish it. Pile 2 is robot work, things you are perfectly good at but you absolutely hate doing. Your action? Delegate it to AI like it's your eager intern. And pile 3 is admin fodder, rote tasks, scheduling, data entry. Automate it. By dropping these heavy, draining bags, you aren't making yourself obsolete, you're actually making yourself irreplaceable.
And there's a powerful concept called inversion that can help shift our entire perspective here. Instead of buying into this deep cultural belief we have that valuable work simply must be hard and exhausting, what if we flipped it? We need to ask ourselves, what if this were easy? What kind of work could you do all day long that actually creates energy for you rather than depleting it? Because right there, that is where your true, irreplaceable value lies.
Moving right along to Section 4, the Sunset Strategy. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking. It is genuinely terrifying to just drop your skills when you have a mortgage to pay, which is exactly why the source material introduces this sunset strategy. But before we get to it, you first have to adopt the 90% rule. When you're evaluating an opportunity or a skill you want to keep, score it from 0 to 100. If it isn't a 90 or above, it's a strict no. Why? Because there are no 75s anymore. The 75s are the skills you are just okay at. They're the meetings that could have been an email. They're just things clogging up your system and taking up the exact space where a 95 could live.
Here's why the sunset strategy is so brilliant. It doesn't mean you have to march in and quit your job today. Think of your professional identity like a storefront. Right now, you might have literally everything advertised in the front window. Python, sales, HR, graphic design, the whole shebang. The sunset strategy just means you stop putting those 75s and the robot work in that front window. You stop eagerly volunteering for them. When your boss asks, you say, I can do that, but my energy is really best utilized in my zone of genius. Have we tried running that first draft through AI? You're just shifting your signal. You stop competing on sheer volume and you start competing on unique value.
It's kind of like tuning a musical instrument. If the string is too loose, it won't play at all. But if it's too tight, if you're anxious, straining to maintain all these skills that don't even belong to you anymore, it's gonna snap. Releasing the skills that no longer serve you actually loosens that tension. It shifts your career from feeling like a constant uphill battle against your own nature into this effortless state where you're channeling 100% of your energy into what actually lights you up.
Let's ground this with a really incredible sensory story from the book about a guy named David. David was this totally exhausted VP. He was the ultimate company man. He was sitting by a crackling mountain fire at a retreat, smelling of pine and wood smoke, and he quietly admitted to the author that his resume had become just a cluttered museum. He had spent 2 decades accumulating competencies without ever pausing to ask if they still belonged to him. He literally said, "I fix everything, just not myself."
So how did David actually fix this? He did it by paying attention to his physical sensations. He started noticing that doing budgeting made his chest tight and vendor negotiations literally gave him pain in his shoulder. But mentoring, that gave him this feeling of warm possibility in his stomach. So applying the sunset strategy, David kept what made him come alive: the mentoring, the coaching, the storytelling, and he released budgeting, vendor management, and event logistics over to software and other team members. He just stopped raising his hand for the spreadsheet work and finally allowed himself to be the people guy instead of the vendor guy.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the resume funeral.
This is where the rubber meets the road. It's a symbolic but incredibly powerful exercise to officially mark this transition for yourself. It's a 4-step process. Step 1, actually print out your current resume or your LinkedIn profile. Step 2, grab a red pen and cross out 3 skills that you are perfectly competent at, but that completely drain your energy. Step 3 is the AI handoff. Right next to that crossed out skill, write down the specific AI tool you are going to delegate it to. For example, write SQL goes to ChatGPT or scheduling goes to my AI assistant. Finally, step 4, the ceremony. You actually say the words out loud. Say, "Thank you, you served me well, but I am handing you over now." I'm telling you, it takes that professional grief and transforms it into profound liberation.
Now, when you cross out all those old skills, you are going to see a whole lot of white space suddenly appear on your resume. And yeah, the panic might rise a little bit. But that terrifying white space, it isn't emptiness at all. It is literally room for your future to breathe. You are finally making space for the person you are becoming. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As you step back and let the robots handle the robot work, what new, irreplaceable, deeply human skills are you going to allow to grow in that white space? Thank you so much for joining me for episode 4. Go do your career audit, cross out those draining skills, and I'll see you in the